Omar Marmoush may have grabbed all the headlines with his hat-trick against Newcastle, but none of that would have been possible without Man City's mini Rodri.
Remember, like a mini Rodri, in terms of, it's a big compliment, but he's had the feeling for the present, the big, you know, that have the duels, and the other one, of course, is miles away from Rodri. Rodri is the best. But
he was left in the shadows with his performance, but Pep Guardiola, as an absolute enjoyer of Barcelona's La Masia, took a lot of time in his post-match press conference to talk about Nico Gonzalez's talent and what he will bring to the table. All of that made me wonder, how good is Nico Gonzalez actually? So, let's find out. Over the winter, everyone was excited about the arrival of Omar Marmoush. Yes, obviously. The guy scored 20 goals and laid on 13 assists in just half a season, which are some prime Neymar-level numbers. But how would you react if I told you that Nico Gonzalez, firstly, would probably go down as a more important player for Man City in the future, and secondly, has a greater level of potential than Rodri himself? Yes, I've probably surprised many of you with that statement, but stay until the end to find out why. And before we talk about Nico's story from the start of his career, when Barcelona and Xavi Hernandez in particular brutally overlooked him, let's explore his role in his home debut against Newcastle. On and off the ball, Nico was brilliant, all the way down to the last detail at the Etihad. Yeah, it's fair to say that you could hardly make a better home debut for a club of Man City's stature than Nico Gonzalez did recently. He was literally everywhere, in the middle of the park, cutting past lanes, stealing loose balls, anticipating the opposition's threat, recovering the ball in crucial areas. Pep acknowledged his importance, highlighting his excellent ability to win the so-called 50-50 balls, or balls that could go either way.
the present for Nico helped us a lot, because these 10 balls, the 50-50, like if he wins 7, you can run, we lose 7, they will run.
Ultimately, Nico finished the game with some Rodri-esque numbers. Yes, he didn't manage to contribute offensively, as Rodri often does with his long-range shots, which Nico could also offer, and you'll understand that in a minute, but Gonzalez was literally unstoppable from a defensive point of view. 4 out of 4 ground duels won, 1 interception, 4 recoveries, and the icing on the cake, 114 touches, 100 out of 103 passes completed, or 97% accuracy, the highest of any player on the pitch, and 15 passes completed in the final third. He defends, he creates, he contributes on and off the ball. This is the type of player you need if you want to win titles. Yeah, he may not shine like the strikers, but Nico Gonzalez is that kind of player who can put in a 10 out of 10 performance without scoring or assisting, just like many classic Spanish midfielders, past and present, like Rodri, Pedri, Iniesta, Xavi, and Sergio Busquets. And speaking of arguably the greatest DM in modern football history, Busquets, there was once talk of Nico being the one to replace him at Barcelona. Those were the words of Sevilla's current coach, Javier Garcia-Pimienta, who was in charge of Barcelona's B team during Nico Gonzalez's time at the club. And he may well be right, with the small difference that Nico Gonzalez may never set foot in the Camp Nou as a Barcelona player. Actually, let's start at the beginning, shall we? Nico Gonzalez was born on the 3rd of January, 2002, in the city of A Coruña, in Galicia, Spain. Growing up in a footballing family, his father, Fran, played for Deportivo La Coruña. Nico was immersed in the sport from an early age. He joined Barcelona's La Masia academy at the age of 11 and set his sights on the senior team role that was destined to come his way sooner or later. At La Masia, he honed his technical skills and tactical understanding under the guidance of renowned coaches, such as former Barca legend Rafa Marquez and the aforementioned Garcia-Pimienta. As he progressed through the youth ranks, Nico's vision and passing accuracy caught the eye. By the end of the 2020-21 season, he was a regular on the Barcelona B team. But interestingly, Nico had never been associated with the so-called Sergio Busquets role, the pivot, the holding midfielder, the deep-lying playmaker, and the Sergio Busquets role. The Spanish legend was so iconic, occupying that space between the 2 centre-backs and the 2 creative midfielders, that people started calling it after him. But at some point, it was time for Barca to start looking for his replacement. Yes, La Masia's academy has always been renowned as one of the best in the world, but finding a successor to one of the best DMs in the world, that was no easy task. Then, one day, during the 2021-22 pre-season tour, Barca fans saw an unknown name on the team sheet, Nico Gonzalez. The average Barcelona supporters had never heard of him, let alone fans of other teams. He featured in every pre-season game under Ronald Koeman, and eventually, the Dutch coach gave him a chance to shine in Barcelona's first game of the 2021-22 season, a 4-2 win over Real Sociedad, when Nico González replaced his idol, Sergio Busquets. Nico played a good game, which raised the expectations of him. Next to him, there was another player making headlines, 17-year-old Pablo Paez Gavira, or simply Gavi. Nico and Gavi were good friends, and it was expected that the La Masia duo would restore Barcelona's midfield to its former glory. As the weeks and months went by, Nico began to gain momentum, playing some invaluable minutes against Getafe and Granada before making his first start for Barcelona in a 3-0 win over Levante, a game that will be remembered as Ansu Fati's return from a 10-month ankle injury. By the way, if you like our content, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future uploads. So yes, there was no Lamine Yamal or no Pau Kubasi. Ansu Fati was Barca's biggest prospect. Alejandro Balde and Gavi were just breaking through, while Nico Gonzalez was tipped to be the next big thing for FC Barcelona. In the months that followed, Nico became a regular in the first team, improving day by day and raising expectations exponentially. Indeed, there were games under both Koeman and then Xavi Hernandez when Busquets was rested and Nico was the one to take his place. He even scored his first 2 goals under Xavi's management in successive games in December against Osasuna and Elche, demonstrating his astonishing presence in front of goal with both strikes coming from deep inside the box. But after the start of 2022 and that memorable transfer window when Barcelona bought Ferran Torres and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, something happened and Nico Gonzalez slowly and steadily fell down the pecking order. Gavi was seen as a more versatile option, very good on the ball and able to cover acres of space. Frenkie de Jong was basically seen as an invaluable asset due to his ability as a box-to-box midfielder, while Pedri did an incredible job as a number 8, creating dozens of chances and scoring some incredible goals. On top of that, with the evergreen Sergio Busquets still balling in the middle, Nico was realistically seen as a 5th or even 6th midfield option for Barca, which ultimately led to his loan transfer to Valencia in the 2022 summer transfer window. The move was designed to give him regular game time and further development opportunities. He made 26 La Liga appearances for Valencia, scoring once and making a significant contribution despite the team's mixed form. However, the experience was somewhat underwhelming for Nico, who had hoped to make more of an impact. After returning from his loan spell, Barcelona decided not to include him in their first team plans ahead of the 2023-24 season. In July that year, Nico made a permanent move to FC Porto for €8.5 million, but President Joan Laporta included a buyback clause should Barca wish to recall their young prodigy. In the Portuguese Primeira Liga, Nico found consistent form as a central midfielder, combining defensive solidity with creative flair. Just as Guardiola said after Newcastle, La Masia created him, but Porto, and the coach, Sergio Conceição, in particular, brought his game to the next level. All in all, Nico Gonzalez is a versatile midfielder who can play as a 6 or as an 8, providing a link between defense and attack. Until the end of 2024-25, he will undoubtedly fill Rodri's role at 6 for Man City. But next season, he's expected to return to the more familiar number 8 role, which he played for most of his youth career during his time at Porto. As for will he be able to help City get back on track in 2024-25, it's too early to say, as he hasn't really been an integral part of a Premier League side where it's at least a few levels above the Portuguese league. As for the Champions League, it'd be a dream move if the citizens could come back from 3-2 down against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Yeah, you probably know the final result by the time we upload this, but Nico is expected to start the game, which would be a different kind of test and experience for the 23-year-old. So, what's your take, guys? Does Nico Gonzalez have the abilities and mentality to mark an era at Man City? Or will he go down as just another Kalvin Phillips for the Citizens' history books? Drop your thoughts below. Also, if you enjoyed that one, please consider subscribing to the channel or check out our latest upload, in which we talked Ousmane Dembele's resurgence from the ashes. See you there.